Good afternoon, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure being here. My name is Faraz Shafiq. I lead products and solutions for Wells Fargo. We've largely lived in a world that has been defined by what we call cognitive scarcity. So think before AI, even though it's very hard to think before AI, but think before November 2022. If you needed to build a mobile app, you needed to hire people, hire organizations that had the special skill set to build a mobile app. Just like that, before you needed to build a website, you needed specialized skills, specialized teams to build a website. What's different about AI is that we are now in the world defined by cognitive abundance, where intelligence is not the issue anymore. You want to build a mobile app? It's as easy as going on Claude or ChatGPT or tens of others applications and literally describing what you want. And so we believe that we've really entered into this very new paradigm and a very new interesting era. Now, banking has been around for a long time. It's hundreds of years old. But the first time we actually saw physical ATMs come into the picture in the US was roughly in 1960s. So that's the first time we actually saw physical ATMs come in. And so you could actually now go into an ATM, not go in the bank, but actually just go to the ATM if you just wanted cash. Then about 1980s is when telephony started to come in. And if you could make a simple change via the phone, you would just call in. Like, I want to update my address, I want to do some balance transfer, or just know where is the status of the credit card that was shipped. So what happened is now people started using phones for the use cases where phone was a good use case. And then 2000s, with the internet era, we saw a big emergence where people started using the web. So now you open your laptop, you log in, you can take a look into your account, and you can do many, many things on the web. And then eventually 2010s, thanks to the iPhone and App Store, and I guarantee everyone in this room has at least one banking app, if not 10. And so every time there was a transition, there was a big shift. In the 1960s, ATMs was the only choice. So 100% people would go to the ATM or the bank. When telephone came in, some people would start going on that route, use a phone. Others would still continue to go to an ATM or a bank. Same with web. The stuff that you can do online, you'll do online. The stuff that you still have to go to a bank, you would go in. And so we believe that this year has been the beginning of another era where the interface is being redesigned and refined. And we believe that the banking experience is actually going to start within the agent. And so now it's about people going on Claude or ChatGPT and asking, what should I do about my 529 college plan? Or, hey, I just have this new job. It's asking me to relocate to a certain place. What would be the best way to do that? And so we're seeing this massive shift where the information or the intelligence, and specifically the user interface, is actually becoming the agent. To a fact where we potentially believe that the future, you may not need an app anymore because you have an agent that takes care of that. And so we do believe that this is the start of a massive and a new era in the world of AI. And again, it's not just a demo or a proof point, but it is an actual working use case. So for Wells Fargo, our AI assistant just crossed 1 billion plus customer interactions. We have 33 million plus active users on the platform. And we see that wherever these tools are being used by our customers, by our bankers, we saw roughly 25% higher increase in both the account openings for deposits as well as credit cards. So the amount of time that bankers spend on drafting notes or looking or researching into client relationships, most of that now becomes table stakes. In fact, it just takes a few minutes and gets that done. And so again, when we say that agents become the new interface, again, it's not just hypothetical. It, in fact, has already begun. But one thing that always challenges me, and the more I think about this industry, is there's a very small group of companies and organizations that take majority of the value created by AI. So I'm sure many people here would resonate with these numbers. There's tons of studies that 10% of the projects are the ones that are successful, or 95% of the projects continue to fail. So we believe that this is going to continue to be true for at least the next couple of years. And the gap is not the model. And I know there's been a lot of conversations on models, and the models are unbelievably powerful. But the model that we're going to use versus other banks or your organizations are the same model. We all have access to Opus 5.0 or Fable or GPT 5.5. Our model is not any different than the models that you all will have access to. So the differentiator is actually not the model. The differentiator is the stuff around the model. How will we use it? Where will we use it? The how really depends on things like agentic harnesses, data, security profile. Agents are great, but when you get them doing a long-running tasks, they actually are not that great. So that's a problem. If there's entrepreneurs in the room, please look into that. That's a huge area. But the big thing is going to be also the culture. Also, how do you prioritize the right use cases? Because one thing I see all the time is suddenly everything becomes AI. It doesn't matter what you're doing, and that's not the right approach. And so for us, it's a matter of taking a very phased and systematic approach. Wells Fargo is a 174-year-old company, and we want to be very meaningful in how we proceed ahead with AI. So our approach in the short term is to look at AI as a tool. Just like you have your Excel and Word docs and many other tools. So humans use AI as a tool, largely focused on individual use cases. So again, you open ChatGPT, you're the one putting in the prompt, getting that information, and then using that information to do something. Then we believe very quickly the world will move into what we're calling AI as a teammate. So now it's less about individual productivity, it's more about system workflows. The best example I use is imagine AI being like a junior employee. Just like when you hire someone new into the organization, you need to give them data, you need to help ramp them up, give them access to systems. AI would be exactly the same way. You onboard AI, you give it the right context, you give it the information, and more importantly, you give it feedback on what is the right way to do things. So we believe that starting next year for us, our focus will go from AI as a tool to AI as a teammate. That means when I think about, for example, home lending or a mortgage process, which is a very complex process, very human-driven, a lot of manual tasks. Now AI as a teammate means when someone comes in and submits their mortgage application, the person can literally just trigger an AI agent, and that AI agent automatically could basically start looking at underwriting, look at what's needed, things like income docs, and many other things. And so AI becomes integrated into the workflow. It's not sitting somewhere else. It is not limited to one person. It is part of the team. In fact, I believe very quickly we're going to have AI in the org chart. So we're going to have home mortgage, the leadership team, then the product management, and in every area, you're going to have an AI agent or multiple AI agents sitting within that. But the end goal really for us is autonomous AI. So in the first two cases, it's largely still driven by humans. Humans are the one who are prompting it. Humans are the one who are defining when it should be triggered. In autonomous AI, that is when AI will be telling us what to do and when to do it. And again, the best example is just like you have a junior employee, imagine you have a senior employee that has access to the entire customer database, entirety of the internet, is very well versed in your organization and your processes. They will be more consistent, more reliable, and largely more accurate than humans as well. Even for humans, by the way, the success rate that we've seen is 95 to 97%. With consistent processes, this can easily beat that. And so in the world of autonomous AI, you're not waiting for a trigger like someone came in and opened a mortgage application. The AI could literally be sending you a Slack message saying, hey, Faraz, I saw that the market rate now is reduced by the feds. Should we create a new offering targeted for a certain demographic? And my job would ideally be just to say yes. Or better yet, it tells me that, hey, the market rate actually dropped. I already did the change because I was 99.7% confident. I rolled it out, and these are the new things that are already happening. That is the world of autonomous AI. And again, my personal belief is that 2028 onwards will be defined by this era. This doesn't mean we're taking a sequential approach. Even today, we are experimenting with autonomous AI. But that just means the mix of things will really start switching, and that's where our focus is going to be. And so for us, we want to change fundamentally how our bank will operate. In this era of AI, we're looking at 4 core pillars, and those are our core strategy for us. One is the hub and spoke model, which simply means that there is not going to be a central team. The job of the AI organization or an AI team or the chief AI officer is to now enable everyone else in the organization, not to be the lone builder. That's what the hub and spoke models means, that you have to give the tools, you have to have the partnerships, the strategy, but the execution should sit within the lines of businesses. For anyone who's a CIO or has worked as an IT person, the word shadow IT is very scary. People get worried about shadow IT, but there will not be shadow AI because AI will be for everyone and will be used by everyone, technical or non-technical. The second thing is to focus on very clear value-driven use cases. Not all use cases are equal, and the high-impact use cases will really drive tremendous value. The third thing is moving fast. So we're still a bank. We're still extremely regulated. So we want to be very safe, very secure. We want to take the right level of risks. And so having those protections is absolutely critical. So we want to move fast, but with a very disciplined approach. And the final thing is that to really drive value at scale, we need our people to be upskilled and enabled. You have to drive adoption, but remember, adoption does not mean impact. But for impact at scale, you do need adoption. And so we really want to drive adoption and impact at scale and upskill our workforce. And so for the question for us that defines our strategy is not what barriers do we have in technology. In fact, we talk about technology very little because technology is changing a lot. But our business processes, our challenges and opportunities, those are the real questions. It doesn't matter what technology comes in 2 months from now or 3 months from now. The questions we're asking, can we do something better for our customers? Those questions still remain the same. And so for us, every day we're challenging, if technology is not the barrier, what will we build? Thank you.